Oh, hello. Welcome to Every Rock Has a Story. I'm just looking at this new brass doorknob that I've got. There's the doorknob and the handle on the other side, and looking at the instructions to put it together. It actually comes with a lot of pieces, and it's a little tricky to put it together. Hey, have you ever wondered about brass? Have you ever asked what is the story of a brass doorknob or a trumpet? I thought I'd tell you the story of brass today, at least to start our story. And I want to warn you, this story is out of this world. Make sure you stay to the end because there's some really cool surprises coming. The way you make brass is with two ingredients. You need zinc and copper. Now, zinc comes from a mineral like this. This is a beautiful mineral called sphalerite. Sphalerite. That's where zinc comes from. Most of our zinc comes from this mineral. Let me show it to you up close. It's a beautiful mineral. It's very heavy. The crystals are a dark orangey brown, dark brown color. But look at the shine, the luster. It shines bright like a diamond. It glistens. It's one of the shiniest minerals that we know. And that's why I like it. And that heaviness is because of all the zinc inside. Sphalerite is made of zinc, a little bit of iron, and this yellow stuff. Remember what that is? Sulfur. Zinc, a little bit of iron, and sulfur makes sphalerite. Now the copper that we need to make brass can come from malachite. We talked about malachite in our copper campfire episode, but that's not where most of our copper comes from. Most of it comes from a rock like this. And I'll show you this one up close. This is actually a piece of granite. We talked about granite in video number 3. You might even see some of the pink and some of the white and the gray colors. But there's something else you might just see glistening and shining, sparkling. It's a golden mineral. It's kind of scattered all across this rock. And that golden mineral, that's where the copper is. It's in that golden mineral. That golden mineral, where the copper is called chalcopyrite. Chalcopyrite. Now, if you remember our video number 3, where we talked about the real pyrite, fool's gold, chalcopyrite is just like pyrite, except it also has copper. That's why the chalco means. So chalcopyrite is copper, iron, and sulfur. Zinc, a little iron and sulfur. Copper, iron and sulfur. And pyrite is just iron and sulfur. All of those minerals are what we call sulfide minerals. If you watched episode number 3, do you remember what happens if pyrite and other sulfide minerals like chalcopyrite and sphalerite get left at the surface and they see the oxygen from the air and the water from the rain? What does it make? It makes acid. Lots of acid, and it can make a mess. I want to show you a picture of what that acid can look like draining out of an old abandoned mine. That's a picture of an old mine. And look at all that yellow-orange gook draining out of the mine. That is acid. Yucky, icky acid. But that yellow-orange color is interesting. And it turns out that sometimes those acid waters that have a lot of iron in them coming out of the sphalerite or the chalcopyrite or the pyrite can create other minerals. And there's one, which is an orangey red mineral that I want to tell you about. I don't have a sample to show you, but that mineral is called jarosite. Jarosite is a mineral that forms when you have acid water, oxygen, a little bit of iron, sulfur, and one more ingredient. And that last ingredient is something in the granite. Do you remember when we talked about our granite in episode 4 and that pink feldspar that made the ocean salty? What was the ingredient that came out of the feldspar and made the ocean salty? Potassium. That's the last ingredient in jarosite. Whew, that's a lot of ingredients. Well, it's a complicated thing, a complicated story to make, but jarosite tells the story of acid water, a little bit of iron, oxygen, a little bit of potassium, and sulfur. Maybe sulfur coming from sphalerite or chalcopyrite. Now, jarosite is an interesting mineral that tells that story. I want to tell you about another time that jarosite was found. I want to tell you about one of the most famous geologists in all history. And I want to ask you where you think that famous geologist found jarosite. I'll give you a hint while you think about it. Here's a picture of the place where that geologist found jarosite. Can you see that? Dark red rock, barren. Know where that is? That is Mars. And the geologist wasn't a person, was it? No. It was a robot geologist named Opportunity. That's a picture of Opportunity, and that's the Opportunity rover on Mars. That's a picture of the Opportunity rover actually working on Mars. The Opportunity rover blasted off to Mars and took a long journey there. And one of the things it found in the soil on the surface of Mars was jarosite. Now, my daughter did a 6th grade project about NASA and the Mars explorers, the Mars rovers. And this is her model of the rover. I'll put it up there so we can see. That's her model of Opportunity. And Opportunity was a real geologist, one of the very first robot geologists to go to Mars. And when Opportunity roved around and scraped and collected and analyzed the rocks on the surface, in one place, Opportunity found jarosite. Pretty cool. Now, wait a second. What is the story of jarosite? Jarosite means acid, water, sulfur, iron, a little potassium. Opportunity discovered conditions in the Martian past that had acid and water. There was water on the surface of Mars in the past, actually over 3 billion years ago. And Opportunity discovered the mineral that tells that story of water, but acid water. I wonder if underneath that red jarosite was a deposit of sulfide minerals like sphalerite or chalcopyrite. Maybe there's a deposit of copper and zinc on Mars, under the ground. That's actually one of the ways that prospectors on this planet find those sulfide ore deposits of zinc and copper so that we can make things like brass, doorknobs. They look for red jarosite and other minerals made of iron and oxygen and water on the surface. Now, I don't know if there's a copper or zinc resource on Mars. I'm pretty sure there are no old mines on Mars. No evidence for life has yet been found. But the discovery of water on the ancient Martian surface by Opportunity and later by the Curiosity rover that found evidence for cool, comfortable water that is not acid-rich. It's one of the great discoveries of all science by one of the most famous geologists, the Opportunity rover. I hope you like this story, and I hope you follow the story of the next Mars rover named Perseverance. Perseverance will blast off this summer and travel to Mars. And when it gets there, its job is to drive around and collect rocks, put them in a bucket so that a future mission can come back, grab the bucket of rocks and bring it back home to study. And we'll have those Mars rocks in our labs to study and tell those stories about jarosite, sulfur, and the Martian past. I'll see you at my next story. Bye-bye.